Hi everyone, ongoing legal battles here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of the new Dope Body album, Crack a Light. This is the latest full-length LP from Baltimore madmen Dope Body, coming back after their short-lived breakup several years ago with a vengeance, it seems. Dropping yet another LP in one of the most hellish years ever, 2020, the band fully returned this past spring in the midst of lockdown and rising death tolls with a record that reflected the quarantine experience, Home Body. Sure, it wasn't the best recording or production a Dope Body record has ever had, but that was easily made up for with quirky songwriting, savage performances, and various sonic experiments across the track list. The whole thing felt like a grimy, weird mixtape I found under the beat-up cushion of a corduroy couch covered in popcorn and beer stains. Spiritually, it also felt like the successor to the band's last full-length LP, Kunk, which was similarly pieced together from noisy, weird, and disjointed ideas. I was curious if on future releases would the band dig even deeper into this vibe, but Crack a Light actually feels like a repeat of a previous record from the band. A lot of the tracks here just remind me of the loose, wild, and chaotic performances all over their Lifer record from, I think, 2014. There is a lot of sonic bleed between all of the harsh noise rock instrumentation on this one, especially on the heaviest tracks, in a way that feels like an overt nod to psychedelic rock. And psych is something that it seemed like the band was dabbling in a little bit more on Home Body anyway. While noise and psych are pretty much the predominant styles throughout this new album, there are some pretty clear ties as well to grunge and garage as well as post-hardcore on certain tracks. Now again, even though I think Crack a Light is very much a redo for the band in some respects, that doesn't mean that there aren't highlights on this thing, especially in the first half. Clean and Clear is an example where these crunchy, scuzzy, lumbering riffs plod their way through these odd and strung out verses. It totally sounds like a trip, especially as the band is going into the pre-chorus and building up with these insane drum fills and long, ringing guitar leads. Meanwhile, frontman Andrew Lauman's voice just sounds like he is caught in the madness the band is creating. There is a super strong call and response hook on the track Lethargic. Then with JER-BANG, we have these very odd and syncopated yet spaced out drums and guitar arpeggios that, as they come together, it really reminds me of like an early Primus track or two. It just feels like, I don't know, if the Jesus Lizard was trying to do a Primus cover, but with as many psychedelic effects flying through the mix as possible. Daylight features some of the heaviest, most ringing and crushing riffs on the entire record. It really borders on being punishing. The song has some instantly sticky qualities to it too. Andrew's calls of "repent, repent" over various instrumental passages on the track come off as a little unnerving, in a good way. Then Lulu features some of the most abrasive and dissonant guitar work on the entire project, really a return to those clunky Cro-Magnon grooves of what I think is the band's best record, Natural History. So there's a midpoint interlude on the project that isn't too bad, but the issue is, after this halfway point, the quality of the songs really seems to drop off. And sure, while the band does maintain a certain level of sonic mayhem throughout the LP, when it drops, I mean it drops. Like The Sculptor, for example, where the quality of the chords and vocals here is almost night and day, as Dope Body suddenly shifts into sounding like a really obscure underground 90s noise grunge band that never really quite got off the ground with this boring demo they seem to be recording right now. Then much of Mutant Being's runtime is spent on these meandering vocals and drab noise psych drones that don't really go anywhere. Sure, the heavier riff passages are pretty exhilarating, but that's about it. And then the following more maybe has the worst lyrics of any Dope Body song ever. The writing on this one, I think, is seriously half-baked. In a way, I think the band is making an earnest attempt to go back to the simplicity of a band like, let's say, the Stooges, but the end result is falling severely short of the mark. The best highlights on the back end of this thing ended up being the most experimental. There's My Man with its abstract, droning, noisy intro that suddenly shifts into these driving, righteous punk rock chords and leads. Between all of the chaotic delay effects and gang vocals, it's a really feel-good moment on the project that gets my blood pumping. Honestly, would have fit as a closer. But then there's the actual closer on this thing, Known Unknown, where you have these synthetic revving tones syncing up with the drums very tightly. Is it an effect? I'm not sure. Either way, the track just gets more and more blasted and rhythmic as it pushes along. It's genuinely one of the most experimental cuts on the project, and I just love the cathartic sensation it brings to the table. I wish more songs on this thing were as sonically adventurous as this one. So while this record's track list did definitely feature some visceral and infectious moments, I also have to admit this is Dope Body's weakest and also most predictable batch of tracks to date too, especially when you consider one half of the record is so much better than the other. So while I guess I did enjoy it overall, hopefully the band brings stronger material in the future with more imaginative pastures ahead. Feeling a decent 2-strong 6 on this one. Transition, have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like, please subscribe, and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head, it's another video that you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Dope Body, forever.